what you need if you don't have security.
Exactly. I think that's a good way to start our
So
talk.
you don't have security, what are you doing?
If you don't have security, what are you even doing?
Pause this video, go get secure.
I'm even going to show you how I actually prepare for normal talks, right? Like literally just walking up to the stage, putting in my media. So here we go. Look at that. The magic of media here. All right, I'm live. This is vlog episode 12. And Tom, I started doing these vlogs just because of a conversation you and I had. In fact, I'm unfortunately just a follower is the way it seems, because I started a lot of things because of the conversation you and I have had. My home assistant and the 200 attached assets.
I have led you to an addiction there.
Like a real fix addiction, man.
Yeah.
Like, I just need one more microcontroller, babe. Just one more. No ITs. But
and you said Amazon thinks those are consumables at this point.
Dude, legitimately, though, there's two things that Amazon thinks is consumables: ESP32 microcontrollers and their attached boards, their breakout boards, and also there was a TP-Link. TP, I think 100 or TP1 something, that is a motion sensor that's battery powered, and it's so cheap because people keep returning them. So like it's like $2.89 for this thing because they're $35 normally. People get them. It says you have to have a TP-Link home router from like 1994 to use this thing, and it's Zigbee. But I then was able to buy them super cheap because people return them and they just drop the price on Amazon. But Amazon will tell me every now and again, are you out of your TP-Link motion sensors? They're not consumables, man. I just put a lot of them in my house.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's fun to gather all of that data and everything else.
It's a problem.
It's a problem, but it's so, I don't know, something intriguing about it.
Well, I have so many Zigbee devices now. This is a tangent, but there's been detection of movement by Zigbee fluctuation. And so they're starting to add capabilities of saying, if I had enough of a mesh network, I could get really granular movement data without motion sensors, right? Because I could just see interruptions of RSSI of the signal strengths.
Oh, did I ever send you the project video where a guy built a Wi-Fi watcher with an overlay with a camera?
No.
I will send it to you.
That's dope.
All right.
Yeah, same tangent.
For me,
okay.
way tangent.
All right, tangential. So adding in, okay, we have some chats. So it looks like some people might be here, so I just want to say hey if they are. Yeah. Oh, yes. We got Kyle Manoski. What's up, Manoski? Oh, it's good to see you, buddy. Back from Australia, living the dream. So I started this again. I guess back to where I started, because you and I were talking about how you had done. How many vlogs are you up to now? It's like a bunch, 420 at least, because we had that joke a while back.
Yeah, 400 something of them.
Yeah,
it's dogged consistency is something that. So here's something worth noting that we probably didn't talk about before, and so we're talking about it live.
Right here, live. Let's do it. That's my jam.
But I ran I joined in. I did not found or start it. The Sunday Morning Linux Review podcast, and that started back in 2012 is when I joined, I think, or 2011. So that was probably my first big foray into media creation.
Sure.
And the whole thing was, no matter what happened, me, Tony, and a few other people, every Sunday morning we were going to get together and we were going to do a podcast. Didn't matter, it was snow. All right, as soon as you dig yourself out, we're going over to Tony's house. We'd all go to Tony's house because we all live really close, and Mary's original joiner. And eventually that just kept expanding. We ended up, the weirdest thing that happened out of that was Microsoft called us. And we didn't think it was we didn't even know we made the Forrester's list for top Linux podcasts.
Top Linux which I mean that is a bit
at the
of
time
a
it was really
anyway. Fair.
But I was still happy to be on some
sure,
list.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, but Microsoft called us and then flew us all out there. Next thing you know, I am at the Microsoft conferences, all of them. I'm at Bill sitting next to Jeffrey Snover interviewing.
Okay.
And you're like,
how did this happen?
Yeah. How does this happen? And it's like, they said, well, you guys really know a lot about Linux. And I'm like, well, yeah, the co-people I'm with I was the dumbest one on there. Like
I usually am when it comes to Linux, for sure.
Phil was on there. He worked for the Linux Foundation. You might have heard of his project, Let's Encrypt.
That's now part of the internet. Is that something that'll never take off? Yeah, or it'll completely change the whole way we buy certificates and almost destroying an entire.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Phil's an interesting guy, so he knows a little stuff.
A little.
And then there's Tony. He manages BGP safety for banking institutions is a lot of what he does now. So, he does some big internet stuff. These guys had some really strong fundamental knowledge. And so that's what we do is just kind of dive into these topics and just riff on them and talk about them and talk about the news. But it brought it up there. And unfortunately, that is something that it overlapped with me starting a YouTube channel because I wanted to do something on my own. I was inspired by the success. But, some of the YouTube stuff just started because I was speaking, and someone says, "Can you put that on the internet? Because I couldn't attend your talk." And sure, that seems technical, but the dogged commitment, like no matter what, and people are like, "Oh man, how'd you build this successful podcast?" I'm like every Sunday, me and my friends hit record.
So you never failed because you're that guy. I've already failed. I already missed 1 week out of 12. So this is technically week 13. So I'm going to tell myself now, like I totally just said, I'm not doing it this week. Failure.
4 years ago today was a Thursday, and it's the only Thursday I missed.
So you've had one?
Yeah.
I could maintain a Tom Lawrence standard if I was only to mean perfection for the next like 4 billion years.
There's no internet available. I was there.
Oh man, you can't tell me that. You brought my hopes up and then you crushed me.
It wasn't reasonable. It was unreasonable. I was actually at a conference in Chicago.
Okay.
And it was just there was no way to do the talk, but all I did was I was able to post. I just couldn't do a live stream.
Sure.
It would just spin, and I said, "All right, I'm just not going to do it.
I just can't." Yeah.
It's unrational.
I love that you still remember exactly what it was, what day it was. So that definitely bothered you a smidge, didn't it?
And it came up in my memory, so I was slapped in the face with it again. Where were you 4 years ago? That's right, you were screwing off.
I was screwing off not doing your job. So anyways, started this podcast as a result of your and my conversation. Yeah. But it's also because I used to host this page on my website called Where's Matt? And this is as much for me as it is anybody else. And so I'll just jump right in it and we'll get this version of it done today. This is the Where's Matt stats, Tom. So I have, in the last 2 weeks, because I didn't do a stat update last week. I was there at RSA with my friend Lawrence, so we did a co-opted episode there. But I'm at 70 presentations this year.
That's amazing.
I'm counting it up. I'm going calendar day by calendar day. I actually have like 16 calendar categories that I track at work or for my whole life, basically. But one of those categories is live presentations. I've done 33 hours. I haven't added any hours of educational content. And I only separate education from presentations of something more ongoing, where I'm teaching a class or doing workshops or things like that. I've had 5 more flights, so I'm now at 27 flights. That number's actually wrong. I forgot to add the 5 to the 22, and then I decided I'm not going to deal with it. I'll do it later. Again, 42 nights in a hotel, 41 ride shares, 5 driving trips, and that includes some personal, right? So Kat and I, we don't keep the rescue dogs just because we already have enough rescue dogs. So we have to wait till that number gets to an N minus number or 2. But we help drive rescue dogs across the country. Yeah. So we'll do these like 2 or 4 hour trips to go drive. And I get a lot of keyboard time done during that, right? Because Kat drives. But and then 29 distinct cities that I've been to this year in this time frame. I added 6 of those in the last 2 weeks. Since then. So now I'm in Orlando, which is where we are today, I think. I just don't know. That's what Kat's for.
Like, and he goes to Maps and press, where am I? That looks like
Dot says I'm here. Oh, damn, that's my VPN. No, I tease. But yeah. So that's it. Really just update on the stats. Appreciate y'all being here for that. Tom, let's get into it. What we want to talk about, I think everybody knows you, so I'm making this assumption, but why don't you introduce yourself for everybody on my tiny channel?
Tom Lawrence Systems. I make YouTube videos occasionally.
Accurate.
And definitely have a lot of fun doing it. You know, I like creating content. I can't help it. Show and tell is my favorite thing in school. Like,
oh, totally. Yeah, totally. Well, I just nerded out on my Home Assistant lightning talk. I don't do many of these, but I did a non-security, not even really technical, I mean, maybe a little bit, but not super technical talk on Home Assistant, which we started kicking down. And you said, how many talks have you seen here at MSPGeek about Home Assistant?
2. Me and you.
Oh, yours was the other one. Yeah. Getting a home lab.
Home lab and a Home Assistant was about 6 minutes of the 6 or 7 minutes of the talk.
Yeah.
So
what was the talk? Give us the breakdown real quick.
It's actually already online, of course.
As you are one to do.
That's one to do. It's not everyone can attend again, and if I take the effort and put the effort into it, I always think, well, why not show it to both audiences? But anyways, it's a home lab, how to level up your career with a home lab. So there's a lot of advice on how to get started, what to get started with. I said Home Assistant is probably one of those projects that you really want to consider because it's affordable in some ways.
Yep.
It will suck all of your time. The device is really cheap, but it scales up to building greenhouses.
Correct.
So
which is my talk. And I want to add to that, the corollary I bet you're making, because our talk was at the same time, so I couldn't watch your talk. But the corollary I bet you're making is you now have something that is not only a lab that you've built, which labs kind of suck sometimes, right? Because if you don't have some purpose you're going down the path of, then who cares, right? Like I at least for me, I like to do stuff. And so what's great about Home Assistant is you will know you screwed up because the light doesn't turn on. Right? You're like, hey, what did I do wrong here? And then you'll have those learning moments. So I think to the career, the point is that going in and actually having practical things you're working with that are cheap, that are easy to explore, that actually teach you things, has value, is my guess, probably.
Yeah. Well, and I like the idea that granted, I have a large area with a rack of servers because I have a big house in the basement.
Sure.
I know not everybody's. There's someone early in their career, they just got out of college, or they have a small apartment, or they only have access to a bedroom at their parents' house.
Sure.
They're probably not going to be able to rack servers, but a Raspberry Pi fits on your desk.
Like this?
Yeah. This small desk in front of us is big enough to set up a home assistant with a dozen little devices.
Yeah.
And make it reasonable. So I always like to start with the most tangible things. And Home Assistant also helps you start with a goal, because I want the light to turn on and off. I want the plant thing to tell me what the moisture level is in my plant. Even if you just use it to track moisture in your plant for how often you manually water it, you have still, or you're getting data? Or maybe your wife overwaters it.
No, I don't know about that. I'm not saying anything.
I'm not saying it looked like a Grafana part.
I can see them. Oh, that's right. I showed that in my dog.
You did.
Okay, I did. Yeah. Okay, so she does tend to sometimes hit that thing with a hundo P water.
Yeah. But I think it's a whole start somewhere, because too many times, and the most frequent question I get when people ask for home lab is, what hardware should I buy? I'm like, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You have to start with, what are you doing?
Sure.
Then it'll drive hardware. And I did a lot of my other part of the talk where we were talking about running Wazoo, Security, Onion, Graylog, all those fun tools that get you deeper into security.
More tactical, practical things that you're learning.
Like, these are things you can try, things you can, once again, will still fit on the desk. You don't require to buy a whole rack of servers for these.
And if you start with super cheap Chinese knockoff parts that you use in Home Assistant, lots of good threat hunting to do.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic. You can get lots of onion.
Why does this reach out to there?
What are these 12 URLs that it's going to that are interesting? Roy Watanabe is a friend of mine, and he asked which vlog do you have? It's Lawrence Information Systems. You can just search for it, and it'll be in his vlog.
Yeah, Lawrence Systems, and you'll see all my live streams. Easiest way to find me.
Yep, for sure. I didn't have an agenda in this talk today. I just really was trying to, just to your point, do the reps and get the reps in and do that.
Even if they're short, even if it's just the reps of doing it.
Yep.
Because even
setting up the gear.
Some of my early stuff was like 10-minute ones. I kept doing. It was just
how often did you do it just off a phone, or how often were you striving for production quality?
I always just chose to use a SLR camera that I had. So I just said, I'll just always do it, because I don't think any of them. There is one where I would transferred it to a phone, because I
had to go.
Well, what happens is I like to get off topic at the end. That's how I know, because I'm like, look, I've exhausted whatever ideas I had, or the audience isn't pushing me in a direction.
Same.
Especially in the early days, it was hard.
That's where I sit today. I'm at 40 or 12 episodes now. I've got
there's a very small audience, so you kind of have to drive it. But then the motorcycle question came up, and I'm like, oh, we went off topic.
Let's go to the garage.
Well, let's go to the garage. And we switched to my phone so I could go to the garage to talk about motorcycles for the last 10 minutes.
So speaking of motorcycles, you might be visiting me here soon and get to ride one of your old bikes that you used to own, an XT250.
XT250.
Yeah. It's in the garage. It's charged up.
If I ride it, I'll probably end up buying another one.
You might just take it home. Like you just drive it home. You're just good. You ride that thing home. You're good. It's going to take a long time at 54 miles an hour, but you can do it. I believe in you.
It's just part of the experience.
It's part of the experience. Anyways, man, thanks for doing this with me. Where are we? We're at MSPGeek Con. I guess I'll codify that. Both had talks here. I did a lightning talk about my greenhouse. I did a talk about assets and asset management. If you ever want to get me off on a topic you will have a hard time shutting me up about, it would be the core principles of CIS and really starting at the what is an asset conversation. So, but we won't go down that right now, because both you and I have something to do, which is talk to other humans and not be in a hotel room. So thank you all for being here. Tom, I appreciate you as always.